Hello and welcome to Last Revolution Podcast, Episode 5. Not that the last ones have been massive or anything, but this one's probably going to follow suit a little bit. Hello, right. I'm Nathan Lucius and I'm joined with my good friend and exceptional uh, movement leader, I'm going to call you today. How about that? Mark
Call me
Byford, the Bowler Hat
call me
Farmer.
whatever you want. Just don't call me late for dinner.
Oh God, well, I don't know. That's usually my title, and it's late again, but and reliably late, I think the term would be. Um, Right, mate. We did an episode yesterday, which was absolutely amazing. At some point, well, I think we should really go back to the whole mystery history. But what I would like to do before we do that is I'm going to dig out some research. I'm going to do it properly for the next time we discuss it, and bring some facts and some informative things to look at. Maybe a few graphics if I can get some of them stuck on the screen as
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
We
good
can
idea.
discuss that because that was a brilliant conversation. However, that being said, today we're gonna balance it out a little bit the other way. We're gonna go back to the farming, a bit of why you do what you do, and I've got a couple of questions there from Holly, which well, you've seen the essay, and I've got a couple for myself and through
Yep.
discussions that I've had with other people. So the question I'd like to start with, Mark, is let's call it the question of organics. Uh, well, so somebody asked me this the other day, and I thought, right, I know the perfect person to ask this question to, right, is no better than you, right?
Hmm.
You're a farmer, you're a researcher, you're a truther, you know your stuff, you all of that. So I thought, right, okay, let's hammer into this because I think they've got a point. And the question was, is organic food a scam? Before we answer, let me balance that out just for the listeners. So I personally prefer organic. I think the idea of organic is healthier. I don't like the idea of to me it's synthetic food. Yes, it's still grown in a field or right, but it's synthetic. It shouldn't have been modified anyway. But then if you look back through the ages, we've lost fruits and vegetables that were a staple in medieval times. I can't even remember the names of them. I know that a lot of things like peas and carrots and potatoes, they've all evolved over the times.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and a lot of people, I mean, I used to think that potatoes were a staple in Europe since the Roman times until you realize it
Mm.
came from Peru and it came over with Columbus basically. So
Yeah. Yeah.
there's things like that. So the just to add a little bit more context before you answer, because I'm fascinated by the whole idea of this. The rhetoric was the skies are being sprayed to shit. Um, there's pesticides and herbicides, weed killers, all of that stuff being sprayed on the fields. You're getting the aluminium, the strontium, the barium coming in from the chemtrails, which is going into the soil, and it's having an effect on the soil, which is going to have an effect on the wildlife, which is going to have an effect on the insect life, and all of that other stuff. So that's the context behind that. So can you tell us about organic? Is it a scam? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it other?
Okay. What I will say is this: the
It's
principle, the
gone.
principle of organic, I love.
Right.
Chemical-free food that's produced in really good quality, highly nutritional soil. Okay.
Yeah.
How much of that actually happens around the world? I think very little. Right now, and the reason I say I'm going to cover this in lots of different ways, right?
Yeah, please do, mate. Take your time on this
So,
one because it's a fascinating question, and I see where they're coming from, to be honest. So,
so we travelled the country last year, as you know. We did 9 months away touring the country, and I remember going to an organic farm.
yeah,
And for me, I class myself as a chemical-free farmer, not an
interesting. Okay,
organic farmer. Now,
right.
and I'll come back to the reason why.
Yeah,
So this farm classed themselves as organic. They were so excited to show me around the farm and the fact that they hadn't used any chemicals in 10 years and no pesticides, insecticides, nothing for 10 years on the farm, big farm. And when I went to where they grow their veg is all in really thick, dense, horrid clay, right?
right. Okay.
And he's like, yeah, we've done really well. We've not used any chemicals here. And I was like, but the ground's shit. Now, And the reason I say that is because I'm used to growing in soil that's so densely nutritious, you can literally just pick it up with your fingertips. You plant with your fingertips, you lift the veg with your fingertips, all root crops, whatever.
Yeah.
So, in the principle of, do I believe chemical free is a good thing? Yes. Organic is a badge that's given to chemical free farming, and organic farmers can still use up to 6 chemicals.
Which are all synthetic man-made chemicals. So, but so
Well,
do we know what
things
those
like
chemicals are, or like, can you tell us what they do
things
specifically?
like which are copper based, for instance. Now, I don't use them because I still think they're chemicals and I don't agree with them. Right? They're still there to deal with things like funguses and things like that, which are difficult. And I won't say they're not difficult to deal with, because they are. And do I think there's a time and place for any chemical? Yes, I do. But what I will say on that is I do not think something like glyphosate is acceptable. Not that organic does, but
No, I
glyphosate
agree
isn't
with you. I mean,
acceptable, right?
it's toxic to the core, glyphosate, and
Yeah, but you have to ask the question. Something has happened in America. Let's just talk about this quickly, because in America in the last week, they've made it so that glyphosate production companies, like glyphosate's Roundup, effectively, Agent Orange, whichever you want to call it, it's all the same thing by the same people. And what they've done is they've banned them being able to be legally challenged in court for the damage they've caused the ground or to people, right?
In other words, it's massive.
It's too big for even the American government daren't take it on. And Trump has made it so they now can't be touched in court for some reason. And I don't know, maybe he's got too many shares in it. I don't know. But there is definitely a reason they've done that. Now, I hate glyphosate. It damages the ground considerably, not just from a weed killer point of view. It just strips the ground of anything, any life. Now, the problem is, I do not believe that farmers who farm organically necessarily understand what a mycelium network does. Right? And for me, a mycelium, I don't know if you know this, but mycelium is what transfers the nutritional value into the root structure of the vegetable.
Right, I didn't know that. I know that mycelium networks are pretty. They work in conjunction with all the other vegetation, and it's massive network underground.
So they might take the nitrogen from the weeds, for instance, and feed it naturally through the nutritional value which they pass on through the root structure of the vegetable. Right, so you can get good quality veg by the mycelium. Now, anything like that doesn't allow the mycelium network to develop, right? So you might have the best soil in the land, but you're not going to grow anything with any nutritional value without any mycelium in the ground. This is why people like Charles Dowling, for instance, talk about no dig. And I love no dig as a principal idea. The first time I come across it, I was like, Jesus, the epiphany point. If you understand how a forest works, the forest drops the leaves from above. They fall onto the ground, they decay, and they turn into compost from the top.
Yeah.
The seeds then fall the next year on top of that, and then the leaves fall on top of that.
So
they then turn into compost.
Give it
its warmth and look after it and protect it, right? So what you end up with is a constant layering on top all the time, which is how I build my soil. So it's all about adding wood chip to the top and straw, grass chippings, anything what needs to be added to the top, ash, anything at all, that the worms can work into the ground. Right? Okay. So the worms pull it in, and in pulling it in, it feeds the mycelium network. Right?
Got you.
So back to the question, do I agree with organic? Organic's great as a starting point.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes, it takes away the chemicals, but it doesn't go further enough. For me, as a chemical-free farmer, I'm on the next stage of that, which is about building the nutritional value of the soil back into the earth, right?
Which makes sense.
Yeah. Now, this is the problem. Farmers have forgotten all this. So when you see farmers putting manure on the ground, right? you'll see a muck spreading out in fields, putting cow shit and cow slurry on the ground, which is great. But it's to put cow shit on the ground, just to give you an idea, it wants to be about 4 inches thick, left on there all winter, and then gradually tickled in just the top 3 or 4 inches of the soil. But what do? They go along, they put a tiny little bit on, and then plough it in. Well, when you plough it in, you destroy the mycelium network, what's built up in the ground.
Because you're disrupting all the
right. So every time you do digging or ploughing, whichever, tilling, whatever people want to call it, you break up the mycelium network. So the nutritional value can't be passed along. So the way to avoid that, and farmers are starting to understand this now, where they do direct drilling. So they don't plough the soil, they now direct drill into the top 2 inches of the soil, and they just lightly cultivate it in front of the drill. Yeah. So that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to allow the natural nitrogen and nutrition to build up in the soil, and the root structure of the weeds is what passes the nutritional value into the soil. Okay?
Yeah.
And
it's working together then, isn't it?
Absolutely. Right. You know, people say to me, and I'm the worst culprit for this in the past, and I know that. I mean, on my last farm, my veg beds were impeccably clean of weeds. And then I went to, as I've done the journey last year and spoke to different farmers, they're like, oh no, we don't bother turning that in because, whether it's plantain, for instance, or clover, whatever it might be, is really good at forcing large amounts of nitrogen and into the ground deep. Especially carbon capture. They're all going on about, oh my God, it's too much carbon in the atmosphere. We need to capture
it. We can come back to that certainly as many times as you like, because that's a ridiculous concept.
Well, absolutely. Carbon's a gas of life. So, but it's really good for storing that deep in the ground. Now, as we all know, plants need carbon dioxide to survive. So the more of it you can get into the soil, the better. Now, the great way to get that into the soil is quite simply to allow your weeds and your cover crops in the winter, for instance. If you grow things like turnips, for instance, over the winter, you graze the sheep on them, so the sheep get to eat the turnip and the leaves. They crap everywhere, putting natural nitrogen onto the soil. They eat all the weeds through the winter, which are there as the green vegetation, right? Taking away all the...
So they're doing the job for the farmers.
Yeah. And then, but the weeds in the meantime and the turnips have put that carbon and that nitrogen deep in the ground, deep, 2 or 3 foot in the ground. Yeah. So then it can feed the root structure of what you then want to grow. Okay?
Yeah.
So here's a problem I have with organic. My biggest issue with what's sold in shops. Now we have an understanding of, the chemical-free versus organic.
Yeah, that which is.
I grow chemical-free, and year before last, when we was on Uncle's farm, we was growing a lot of vegetables, and I was delivering vegetable boxes out to friends and family and so forth. And one of my mates said to me, "I said, listen, buddy," he said, "I'm going to cut your veg box out." He said, "because it's not organic." I said, "All right." He said, "What I'm going to do," he said, "is I'm going to go into Waitrose and pick my organic veg up I said, okay, no problem. Listen, do me a favor. I'll give you this week's veg box. Go and buy the veg you want from Tesco's. This is what I'm delivering. Go and get the same stuff and from Waitrose, and we'll test it." So I have a nitrate tester, right, which is no bigger than a mobile phone. It's got 2 little prongs on it, and you stick it in a vegetable, and it tells you how much nitrate is in the soil it was grown in.
Right. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, nitrate is obviously is a big thing because nitram is the unnatural nitrogen that's put onto soil by most farmers to build up the amount of nitrogen they need in the ground, and that's produced from nitram. Now, nitram is a chemical component which comes from manufacturing of petrol predominantly, and they end up with the nitram, so they can use that as a synthetic fertilizer. Okay, so we tested my 10 vegetables, which had 0 nitrogen in, 0 nitrates whatsoever.
Yeah.
And he tested his vegetables, which were from Waitrose, and 9 out of 10 had high levels of nitram. Right? Okay. Now they might be chemical free or organic, right? But they're not nitram free. Now, the problem is when you dig into the history of the organic supply to most supermarkets,
Mhm.
it is produced in places like China, given a label, and then sent
And
to the
hang on, hang
UK.
on. So, like cucumbers and lettuces and I don't know, tomatoes, whatever. They're from China.
If they're organic, they predominantly come from China. Now,
Okay.
so so bear in mind that this whopping great big pile over here is all the legislation British farmers have to abide by to be organic
Yeah.
by the Soil Association.
Yeah.
In China, it's about that big, right?
Right.
Basically, in
Okay.
China, as long as you stick an organic badge on it, that's good enough for them, right? So
Right.
what you end up with is the supermarkets buying in an inferior product against what British people think they're entitled to buy under the label of organic,
Right. Okay.
right?
I mean,
Now, not
mate, you've just blown my mind with that one. I know we import a lot of food, but I didn't. I mean, this is sneaky then. So, okay. Yeah. Carry on, mate.
Now, I'm not saying all organic food is that, right? But a
Yeah.
vast amount of it is. Now, in the UK, we have a completely different style of standard. And if you take someone like Riverford, for instance, guy who runs Riverford, in my opinion, is one of the only people in the country that has a really good organic system
Yeah.
and produces to scale, right? Because most people that grow a really good organic food can't do that on scale. They've never worked it out. He has,
Right.
right? And he
Okay.
has other farmers that work alongside him, but they still have to use the 6 chemicals to produce that food, right? You see where
Okay.
I'm going? Yeah.
Yeah. I did.
Now,
Yeah. Yeah.
now I have to say this, Nathan, and for me, if anybody's watching this and want to know where to buy good quality organic food, right? Take a look at people like either organity.co.uk or thegoodfoodproject.co.uk,
Yeah.
or start looking for the smaller farms that do home delivery box schemes that produce their own vegetables on the farm, right?
Yeah.
Because that to me is where you get the best quality food from. Direct from a farmer,
Yeah.
it's fresh. You know, I mean, I know Organity well enough and Good Food Project that both of those companies have a very high standard of where their stuff comes from, what
Yeah.
they buy in, you know, the farmers that supply them and everything else. Now, for me, taking chemicals away from food is the answer. All chemicals, right? And I don't just mean that from the point of, um, you know, removing the basics. You
Mm.
know, if you look at supermarket food as a product
Yeah.
that is mostly processed, bear in mind that even the fruit and veg is processed because it's all either dipped in something like a peel or
Well,
some sort
I know there was that thing with oranges and like certain fruits and stuff that they've got some kind of wax on it, or there's the
yeah,
appeal, and isn't that
yeah.
something to do with Bill Gates, if I
Oh,
remember
mate, we
correctly?
know he can be trusted.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, totally.
So all it
Yeah,
does, it covers it so it can't breathe. Right?
yeah,
That's what it does. So it covers it so it can't breathe. So if it can't breathe, it can't decay. I've seen fruit and veg that's got so much wax on it that it's a year old. You cut the apple, it's completely decayed inside, right? But on the
right,
outside, you would look at it and it would be, you know, that absolute snow white apple, red apple, you know, that you go, oh wow, I want to eat that. But
yeah.
when you cut it, it's completely gone inside. Now,
Uh,
for me, we have 2 issues with our food supply chain at present. One, we
just
do
two, I
not.
think. Right, okay,
Okay, let me say
yeah,
my 2 biggest concerns are: one, we don't have enough people producing good quality food, and two, we've now become so used to eating out of season, it becomes
mm,
an issue. Because
right,
when you eat in season, and if it's local food, right, for instance, if it's local food, seasonally produced, right, then you've got the advantage that one, it hasn't probably travelled very far because even if it was the entire length and breadth of the country that it's travelled, it's still not far in comparison to most food on the planet, right?
well, yeah, especially when we're importing it from China. I mean, you couldn't really get much further away than that. But
China, South America, South Africa, that's
yeah,
where most of our food comes from, right?
yeah,
So, what has happened at this point is the fact that we're not producing enough good quality food to supply the system
Yeah.
and the demand what people want.
Yeah.
Right now, demand for organic fruit and veg, and I say organic because that's what the quote comes from the Soil Association. Soil Association said the request for organic vegetables this year has gone up 9%.
I mean, I would say that was a good sign.
It's
I would say
very
that
good
was a
sign,
very good sign. So,
right? Now,
yeah.
here's the challenge. Farm shops that I deal with are saying that the demand on their produce has gone up 150%.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay.
9%, whilst that's great, doesn't account for the 150% uptake what's demanded via the industry.
Yeah, because the ratios
via
have
the
changed,
supply
haven't
for the industry, you know.
Yeah.
So we have a problem at the minute that then we start getting into the bullshit brigade of importing from China to fill the hole because not enough farmers are stepping up. And farmers say to me, well, it isn't viable. Have you seen what they're charging for organic stuff in supermarkets? These farmers need to wake the heck up, really.
Yeah.
You know, the problem is that how much farming China, I'm not knocking farmers in, Nathan, you know, from my side, coming from that background, but here's the problem, that farmers 100 years ago had probably, if they had an acre of land, had 1 to 2 people that ran that 1 acre of land, right? Now we have a 1,000-acre farm that has 1 member of staff and the farmer, right?
Yeah.
So and then they have contractors come in to do things. This is the problem. So they haven't got the staff on the farms to produce the food we now need.
Yeah.
Well, that to me says there's an opportunity for someone to start training people to grow that food, to supply those farmers with staff, to give the farmers an ability to be able to produce good quality soil, and have an opportunity to employ the people with the knowledge to do it. Now, this comes back to what I was saying yesterday about this transition period.
Yeah.
We have a transition period that we have to go through, and farmers are not on the same curve as what the public are on the grounds of demand. So the demand is outstripping all the time whatever farmers can produce.
Which is a massive problem. I mean that's I mean, so effectively. Sorry to interrupt there, because this is brilliant. This is gold dust. But then what you're saying is food shortages are only a couple of days away if the demand falls. Sorry, if the supply falls behind the demand too much, we're really, aren't we? So
now, bear in mind that most of the food that comes into the country is chemically produced all over the world, right? And we know that. We can't get away from that. Yeah. And this is why I talk about this transition, what's got to happen. Now, the problem is that DEFRA, which is our food and environment, you know, the food agency to look after all food stability for the country, is fucking shite. They're shocking. They're so poor in what they do. It's untrue. Now,
the system, challenge, isn't it? Without sounding too conspiratorial, it's system to the core. I mean, it's an agency. It's one of these. I won't go into that. I think,
you know, Nathan, we had the conversation I think the other day, and within the last couple of weeks, £650,000 was spent by DEFRA on them bringing in, I quote, experts to help them understand farming in the UK so that they can best serve the farmers that they're looking after. How do you even sit in that position if you do not know the fucking answers? Now, they spent £650,000 on getting these alleged experts in. Now, on top of that, they spent £650 million on paying Brazilian farmers to produce cheap beef to bring into the UK right now.
Well, that's problematic on its own, but we can come back to that as well.
Well, I'll tell you why it's problematic, and you know, and a lot of farmers are kicking up about this. Obviously, now it's problematic because of two things. One, it doesn't meet our high standards. Two, to ship it to the UK, it has to be either it's moved frozen or it's moved inside tanks of carbon dioxide to stop it decaying. Understand?
Right, okay.
Yeah. So to stop it decaying, you put it in the hole of the boat, fill it full of carbon dioxide so it can't go off on transit.
Yeah.
When it then gets here, you open the cabin, the carbon dioxide comes out, and you then have meat that starts to deteriorate extra quick because it's been
Right.
soaked in carbon dioxide, right?
Yeah.
Now, British farmers don't have that. Our meat is killed, hung for 28 days predominantly,
Yeah.
right? When it comes out of the abattoir after 28 days, it's going to a butcher, and the butcher then can sell that as a really good quality, tasty piece of British meat.
Sorry, can I ask
Go
you a
on.
question on that? On
Yeah.
that, I mean, we'll come back to it if you like. I can write it down.
Yeah.
You know, you said you let it. So this is a lot of this is new to me because I've never worked in
Mm-hmm.
farming, right? But it's you know, clearly I understand the value of it. Without it,
Mm-hmm.
we're all dead. You know,
Yeah.
we don't. We need food. We need decent farming. With when you say they let the meat hang for 28 days, is that like preserved? How do they do it? Is that where they stick it in the freezers for 28 days and
Yeah.
then so
And just just stick it in the fridge and leave it. It's only fridged, so you let it
right,
sit there for 28 days. It builds so the blood has a chance to build up flavour in the meat, and that's the
right,
idea of it. So this is what they used to do years ago with deer and so forth. They would hang deer. Most
yeah,
game, when I was a kid, and if Grandad shot a pheasant, brace of pheasants, for instance, or a rabbit, Nan
yeah,
would have it hanging in the pantry until it was green, right? Until it was absolutely green, you would be
right,
going
okay,
right. But then she
yeah,
cooked
just a
it,
bit,
and that flavour was what you went, wow. That's how you get the flavour. You hang the meat. Now,
right,
this is the problem. So, for it to come from South America,
yeah,
it's killed, it's put on a ship, it's shipped in carbon dioxide. It's not hung, it's not got no flavour, right? And
okay,
so bear in mind, this isn't just the meat from Brazil. New
yeah.
Zealand lamb. If you want New Zealand lamb, you go to the supermarket and you buy a joint of lamb. That lamb has travelled, potentially could have been in that carbon dioxide for 6 months before you eat it, right? Or before it
Yeah,
even lands at the UK, right?
yeah.
And then people say to me, "Oh, well, British lamb's very expensive opposed to New Zealand." Yes, but you're not buying like for like. That British lamb has been killed in the last month, hung, brought to the table, eaten, and it's never been in carbon dioxide or anything what might damage your body. It's not got no additives, no preservatives, nothing. Everything what's coming in from overseas, everything is going through a process to make it last months.
So can I pick on that as well? So obviously we're aware of the, let's say, climate change agenda, which both of us, I think it's fair to say it's a crock. It's an absolute deceptive lie for an agenda that
Mm-hmm.
goes. It's not for our benefit, and it doesn't make sense. And it, but we can come back to that as many times as we want just to get the message across. But we're told CO2, carbon dioxide is terrible. It's we have to be carbon neutral, and then there has to be carbon taxes, and there's too much carbon in the atmosphere. Right? You and I know, this is not a theory. We don't
We
think
haven't got
this. It's
enough
not our
carbon.
opinion. But we know that carbon is good. We know it's the
Yes.
gas of life. We know it's an essential. We know
Yep.
it comes from the trees. We know the vegetation relies on it to thrive. Right? It needs the heat, needs the sunlight, needs the carbon. Needs right. We
Yep.
know this. This is factual science, not
It's
theoretical.
primary school science.
It is literally, and so with all of this going on in the agenda and the mainstream saying, "Oh, we must be carbon neutral and we're cutting our carbon emissions and all of that stuff," the very fact that the imports that are coming from all these countries, the only way to preserve the meat is to stick them in carbon. To me, how do you reconcile that as a I don't know.
How are we heading towards carbon neutral?
Yeah, but so all the people that are they know that there's carbon preserving the meat. Isn't it making them think, well, if we're using carbon to preserve the meat,
Mate,
how
you
is it
can't
bad?
write this stuff. You can't write it. It's as
Well,
simple as
I
that.
mean, it's to me, there's so many contradictions, double standards, the hypocrisy. I don't know. It's mental.
Well, it is.
What is the disconnect between the narrative, the school science, which again,
Yeah.
this is not even theoretical science. This is proven, factual, reliable, observable science,
Look,
right?
we know how photosynthesis works, right? Photosynthesis is the
Just that.
simplest
Yeah.
understanding of anything in the world. That's what
Yeah.
every child was taught in school,
Yeah.
right? And they can't say, oh, the science has changed because it can't change. We know we breathe
Right.
out carbon dioxide.
Yeah.
Plants take in carbon dioxide and
And
plants give us oxygen in replacement, right?
Yeah.
That's the simplicity. That's the cycle of life, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And when
Absolutely.
they say, government officials have said, oh, I remember, and I'll just give you an example of this. There was a Green Party guy came to one of my speeches one night, and the landlady who'd organised the speech in the back of the pub said to me, she said, "Look, just be warned." She said, "This guy's absolutely gunning for you." I said, "Oh, brilliant, good news."
Oh, right, okay.
So she said, "Because he doesn't agree with your thoughts on climate change." I said, "Oh, well, I don't
Oh,
really care
oh,
what he
oh,
thinks, right?"
okay.
So this guy walks in, and he was challenging for a fight all the way through this. And I said to him, I said, "Okay." I said, "Well, let me ask you a question then," to the audience. I said, and the audience was all wide awake apart from this one guy, right? So the audience knew where I was going, right? It was quite clear what I was going to ask. And I said, "So let's assume there's too much carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Can I ask a question to the room? How much carbon dioxide is in the atmosphere?" And this green guy puts his hand up. He says, "About 20%. I said, "Oh, really? Can I ask where you get that figure from?" And he said, "Well, what do you mean?" I said, "Where'd you get the figure from? You're obviously, stating a fact." I said, "Where'd you get the figure from?" Because my complete talk is based around facts, not
Yeah.
fiction,
Mate,
right?
I've been to your talks, and they're without blowing smoke. They are brilliant, and they are motivating, informative, factual. They are brilliant, and I reckon. No, seriously, I mean it was inspiring. So, but anyway,
So this guy says, "Thank you," but this guy says, sits there and he says, "It's about 20%." And I said, "Well, actually, if you go to the government's own website, the government states that it's 0.04%. And he said, "No, I can assure you it isn't." I said, "Well, look, get on your phone, check it." And by this point, the audience has started to rip him a new arse, right?
I
And I
can't
thought it was
imagine why.
brilliant. And they're like, "Well, don't you even know that? You're here as a green councillor. Surely you should know
Exactly
this."
right.
And the audience, there was about 50 people in the back end
Yeah,
of the pub, and the people all knew the answer. And I said, "Now, what is concerning for net zero? Zero. Bear in mind that number. Net
yeah,
zero. Zero means there ain't none left,
nothing
right?
exactly.
If we get down to 2.7% carbon in the atmosphere, 0.027,
Yeah,
what happens? We all die. The plants die, we
yeah,
die.
yeah.
Right now, here's my reckoning. In the past, we'll get back to history now. In the
Oh,
past,
mate, I love
right?
history. Look, half the books behind me are history books, so you carry on, mate. I love
My
history.
reckoning is that in the past, Nathan, when there's been a lot of volcanic activity on the planet,
Yeah.
carbon dioxide has been a lot more
Yes.
on in the atmosphere than what we've
Yeah.
got now, right? And I believe that some of the I can't remember what these places are called around the world, but these places that look like big tree stumps.
Oh, the mountain look,
Yeah,
the
the
big,
mountains what look
the
like tree
tabletop
stumps,
mountain type things.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
but one what's got an axe laying on top of it, for instance. I don't know if you've
Right.
seen that, but it's just brilliant. It's
Are
this
you-
it's huge mountain range which has got a flat top with an axe on top of it, and the axe is literally a metal axe head with a massive, great big wooden handle going out the side of it, and they're like, "Oh
Oh,
no,
mate, right. We
this
need
isn't a
graphics
tree
for this.
stump."
We need to come back to this. I'm right. Give me a list of stuff, or like help me compile some graphics together, and we will go into this massively in a
Well,
future
now
show. That'll
I
be
I believe that people would have been bigger, and we
yeah.
know through history there's lots of talk in the Bible about giants.
Giants,
You know,
Nephilim, and
yeah,
yeah,
we
yeah,
know they were there, right? And as we've
yeah.
got less and less carbon on the planet, the people have got smaller and smaller and smaller,
Which makes
right?
sense. Yeah,
Now,
because
if there
there's less oxygen, there's less reception, there's less nutrients from the food. There's less.
absolutely,
Right, perfect.
and if I say if there was dinosaurs, if there was
Yeah,
dinosaurs,
I'm on the fence with that one as well. So I'm on the fence. I'm not decided either way. So
me
yeah,
too, because
okay,
if there was it just that the animals were bigger
yeah,
than they are now?
right. I know where. Yeah,
Yeah,
I know
because
exactly
there
where you're
was
going
more
with it.
carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, and so
Yeah,
the trees were bigger. There was more oxygen; they could breathe more.
yeah,
Right. So we have to look at all of this. So for the food chain, this is where the problem comes moving forward.
yeah,
Right. Farmers have been encouraged for the last 60 years to produce food via chemicals.
yeah.
Those chemicals have killed the soil. Now,
I'm listening. I'm taking notes as we're going along. Carry on, mate.
and this bit's important, right? We know that one of the biggest things they're dropping from aeroplanes at present through chemtrails is
Yeah.
aluminium,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Aluminium blocks up the ability for soil to be able to digest anything. So it kills the soil more and more and more.
And correct me if I'm wrong here, but the Soil Association has confirmed this by stating that there isn't like one third of the soil consistency is now aluminium. It's like hasn't there been like a one third increase in aluminium? That's what I'm trying to say there. Yeah, I don't know. Confirm that.
What I will say is, and it's bizarre that the Soil Association should bring that up, right? And here's the difference between organic and chemical-free farming.
Right.
Right.
Cool. Yeah.
There is a guy by the name of Hans Gunten.
Right.
Hans is, in my opinion, a world leader in understanding how to make soil. Right? How to make soil. Not how to look after it, how to garden it, how to dig it, how to make soil. Right? Now, Hans's belief, and I have to say mine too, after having lengthy conversations, hours of conversations with this man one day, I asked the question, was it possible, because plants can digest aluminium, okay?
But there's surely only a certain amount, I would imagine.
Hold hard. But how they digest it is through the mycelium network attaching itself to the plant roots.
Right.
So, back to my point.
Yeah.
If you've got a farmer with dead soil, with no mycelium network in it, more aluminium just kills it more and more and more. Now, unlike someone like myself who's got good quality organic, chemical-free soil, densely nutritious, which is fed on a weekly basis, and lots of small farms are on this journey, that soil is so highly dense in nutrition and the organic matter in the soil that the mycelium network is attached to can digest that aluminium, turn it into an aluminium compound that the plant structure can absorb and use it for the benefit of the plant and keep it out of the soil. That's the difference in between organic farming and chemical-free farming, right?
Yeah.
So I believe that for the coming back to the point we made earlier about what are my thoughts on organic, it's great, but it's the start. Let's say we're on a staircase, right?
Yep.
Let's say we're on a staircase and chemical farming's step one. And, you know, it might be 20 steps up this ladder. Organic for me is like number 5.
Okay, fair play.
Right?
Yeah.
Where I'm at is probably 10.
Yeah.
Right? Now, and the reason I say this, and we'll back to history.
I carry on.
In the Amazon, right?
Yeah.
In the Amazon, they started clearing trees. And they couldn't understand why the soil was black. Because their actual soil is quite clayey. But they had
it's like a red clay, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like a red clay.
Usually,
but they found places inside the Amazon where the soil was 6 to 8 foot deep of just topsoil, just black, so rich, right, that they couldn't work it out. Now, the Amazons worked out how to make soil. Right? Now, on my trip last year, I went down to see a guy by the name of Richard Higgins. Now, I've met several people that make compost on scale, good compost, right? But then I went to see this guy called Richard Higgins, and he's designed a piece of equipment that is effectively a steel box. You know, like you get flight cases, what you keep your cameras and things in years ago, them silver boxes.
Yeah.
They look like a huge one of those. It's a meter by a meter by a meter, right? Top lifts up, front lifts down, or front takes out, so you can add more stuff to it. So he has designed a system that can take any, and I mean any, green waste. You chuck it in, you cover it in cow slurry, which is like an igniter to make it work, right?
Yeah.
You close it up, and the heat builds up to about 70 degrees. And as a result of that, within 28 days, it will break it completely down to compost, right? Yeah. You then take it out and you put it in what I'd probably call like windrows. So, you know, you line it up in like thorough, you know, in rows, and you can you can add more cow slurry and turn it again. And over the course of a couple of months, it turns this stuff into the most nutritionally dense soil. And I say soil, not compost.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Soil. Now,
yeah.
one of the problems that my granddad, and I was blessed, and I mean blessed, mate. When I was brought up predominantly by my grandfather. You know, dad was always at work, mum was, you know, doing everything, and we lived within a couple of doors away from my nan and granddad.
I want to say that would have been a privilege because you had the best of the generations that we had access to. I mean, they knew their stuff. They
were attached to the soil, mate. My granddad had an apple tree, right? He had a Bramley apple tree, a cooking apple tree.
Yeah.
He grafted onto that. I don't know if you know what grafting is, but it's effectively like when you take a small branch off of another kind of tree, like a Granny Smith, a Cox, a Bramley, whatever it might, you know, plums, cherries, anything. Yeah. And you graft it, you take a slice of the bark off and you actually graft it and grow it onto the mother tree.
So no, that I didn't know. So I'm not familiar with that at all. But
that's how they produce most apple tree stock in the country now, right? They graft it onto a core. Then you take so you can grow any apple tree as the core, the trunk, and then you graft onto it what you want, right? My grandfather had a Bramley apple tree that had 16 different types of apples, plums, and cherries on it.
Wow.
Now, and mate, I kid you not, and I see people now, they do grafting, it's like a flipping rocket science, right? My granddad.
To be fair, that sounds like that sounds almost like magic. It seems like magic. It belongs on the Occult Academy instead of this one. I mean, that's fantastic. I mean, I didn't know that. So I'll
tell you something, right? My granddad, and I see people do it now like a rocket science, and they spend hours trimming every bit up. My granddad used to go up, break a bit off someone's tree, trim it with his penknife. He would just literally scalpel a bit off the side of one of the branches, stick it on, get some sellotape and wrap around it, and that was it. It was no rocket science to it. He just did it, right? And 70 or 80
amazing. To me, this is like this is mind blowing, right? Sorry to keep interrupting.
Now, so his importance was that the mother tree was the bramble. It was the cooking apple tree, right? Yeah. The bramble apple tree, right?
Yeah.
No other tree would accept the grafts like that would. And that would have all sorts of things growing on. It would be fruit in different times of the year. You know, you'd have cooking apples in the winter, you know, sort of coming off in late autumn. But in the, you know, late, early summer, you'd have bloody cherries and peaches on
the same tree.
Yeah. Look into it. Look into grafting, right? Because it's something it's really now a very almost... Most people don't know how to do it anymore. And I'm not saying I do, but, you know, my granddad used to graft all sorts of things. Now, he always said to me that the importance of farming is knowing how to make soil.
Yeah.
Right? Because
not compost. Again, we're making a distinction there.
And he would make a point, right? What he would deem as soil is what I would deem is really nutritious compost, right? And he would feed that into the soil. So he would make it in these boxes like Richard Higgins does. And he would turn that in, you know, he would put that onto the top of the soil and, you know, lightly tickle that in, and each year top it up again and top it up with manure and all sorts of things, right? And his importance was always about, if you feed the soil good quality food, you can grow good quality food from the soil.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, that's logical. So, absolutely.
Okay, so if that's logical, how do farmers now farm? What do? They chuck chemicals on the ground.
I was going to say that
which burns all the
whole process to synthesize it. But
there you go. So they chuck chemicals on and unnatural fertilizers, which do away with everything natural in the soil. So you can't get any natural goodness out of it. You can't get any goodness into the soil. We can't get any goodness out of the soil.
Which means the stuff that's going into the produce is just equally as terrible, right?
Absolutely. So yes, you might have a nice looking cucumber or something, but you know, when you actually get down to biting it, tasting it for nutritional value, and when we were in Glastonbury last year, I met a guy down there who blew my head, and he'd designed a thing. It was no bigger than a pen, right?
Yeah.
And you opened it up, and he'd got a pair of tongs, like a pair of mole grips, and you squeezed an apple, for instance, squeezed the apple juice in it, and tested it, and it could tell you the nutritional value of that apple.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, think about that from a farming point of view.
Mm.
I want to buy good quality as a consumer. I come along and I say, right, Mr. Bowler Hat Farmer, I want to buy really good quality, nutritionally dense, rich food.
Yeah.
And I say, okay, well, that's what we grow. And you say, prove it. And I go, well, really, I can't. Right? Now, you bring me your supermarket shopping. We'll test the nutritional value of that, and then we'll test mine. Right? Now you can say to someone, this has got 50 times more nutritional value in than what you're eating from a supermarket. Right? I then can say, this is worth double what you're paying at the moment. Now farmers are in a completely different position on what the produce is worth.
Mm.
Because the nutritional value is so high in the produce, I don't need, as the consumer, to eat so much of it.
Because you're getting more of
Because your body's getting everything it needs out of eating a lot less of it.
Unless you just like eating. I mean, I like eating fruit, so it's. But even
Yeah.
then, you can't overdo it. It's almost like your body knows how much it needs fruit wise.
Well, the problem is with fruit and veg, from a nutritional value point,
Yeah.
your brain is actually set up to digest what's going through it, and your brain tells you when it's full in accordance to the nutrient value it's had. Right?
Yeah.
So when you go in for a Mackie D, your stomach's going, oh, I'm so bloated, I must be full. Half an hour later, you're hungry. Because by then, your brain has worked out that the nutritional value wasn't there. So what do? Oh, I'll grab someone else, a pack of crisps, a bar of chocolate, a can of Coke. I'll get my sugar fix. I've got my calories again. Woo! Half an hour later, back on your ass again, right?
Yeah.
Where if you eat
it's a short burst, isn't it? It's a dopamine hit almost.
But if you have really good, densely nutritious food, you only eat once a day. This is what people have got to understand. This, Nathan, is what's been removed from schools. That understanding, that level of nutritional value, nutritional goodness in food and soil.
Yeah.
Right? So farmers, and no disrespect to farmers, don't mean disrespectfully to farmers, but farmers have been nurtured away from that style of understanding.
And as the generations go down and down and down, they retain less and less knowledge. So it's not, I mean, effectively, it's not fair to put the blame entirely on them, because they've been trained to fall in line with
absolutely
policies and agendas.
This goes back to right. When I was a kid at school, we had a school garden. The school garden had a school chickens.
We even had a wildlife patch as well, so we just let everything grow naturally,
Absolutely. Why? Because it let the bees come in, right? Yeah. This is one of the other problems we've got at the moment, especially. I spoke to a beekeeper the other day, and he's got 7 beehives on my mate's farm, and 2 of them had died over the winter for no reason at all. And he said, can't work out what it is. I said, well, he said, it's not this particular mite, for instance. He said, this is something new. Yeah, it's something new, something genetically modified, which is now killing off all the bees. So the bees, for me, are the last section what the WEF needs to eradicate. They've got rid of good quality seed. We know we've got GMO seed now, right?
Yeah.
We've got
I wanted to come into this as well, actually, so I'm going to write it down. All
right, well, look, genetically modified seed. Let's cover seed, because for me, I use heritage seeds, organic seeds, right? Organic, back to that word, but
yeah. But so
I'll give you an example, right? When I was 5, my grandfather said to me, this year I'm going to teach you about magic beans. And I was like, I know the story about Jack and the Beanstalk. I know this one, Granddad. He said, no. This is about Mark, Granddad, and the magic beans. I was like, okay.
Nice. Okay.
So he said, so we grew runner beans and we grew broad beans. And every afternoon when they were ready, I used to go and pick them all for Nan to take. And Nan would cut them up, put them in the freezer, cook them for dinner, whatever. And we got down to the last ones on the bushes. And Granny said to me, don't pick them ones. They're the magic beans. And I was like, what do you mean magic beans? He said, you'll see. But they are the magic beans. Don't pick them ones. Okay. So later in the year when they dried off, Granddad picked them. They dried out in the shed. And he then said to me, right, come and work with me. He said, I need to tell you about the magic beans. So we shelled the beans, made sure they were dry, put them in a plastic container, wrapped up in newspaper. And over the course of the winter, they became magic beans. Next year, when we came to plant, we got those beans out of the paper and planted them in the ground. And Granddad said, now you're going to see the magic. So we've taken some beans what were dead on the plant. We've dried them out over winter. We've now planted them and they grow to give me this year's beans. Right?
Yeah.
So that's magic.
Yeah.
Right?
Because it's effectively you're creating something that from
nature.
well, yeah, but the way that I would look, I mean, it is I mean, to me, the whole of nature's magic, because if you think about it, before that bean, there wasn't that bean. I know this is going to sound crazy as I'm doing it, but if you write it on paper, that it didn't exist.
It didn't exist.
And now it does, and now and then it's effectively the whole of nature is magical, right?
Yeah.
Because it is taking something from nothing. It's not quite that, but it's taking something from a very small something that preceded it, right? And it's making fields and forests out of it. And this is the magic of nature. This is generation. This is I would even say that this was an occult science from that perspective. If you want to look at it from that, you know.
Well, so I was in the position. No, not at all. Granddad taught me how to save seeds, right?
Yeah.
And those beans, now that was when I was 5. I'm now 58. I've still got the beans. The beans that come from the beans, from the beans, from the beans, from the beans. And every year I save my seed. Right? So I've got seed that is probably, from ancestral point of view, is 100+ years old.
Yeah.
But it's come back every year.
Yeah.
It's there every year, and I keep the seed. And I had so much of this seed, when my cousin started his own farm, I gave him 2 buckets of seed, like 2 big toffee tins, Quality Street tins of seed, one of broad beans and one of runner beans, for his farm, right? Because he's an organic, chemical-free farmer and wants to grow, sustainably. So I was like, well, I've got something, because he never met Granddad, because his mum's my cousin, so he's my second cousin. So he'd never met Granddad Boxer. All he knows is this legendary guy who could grow anything. Absolutely. I've got the seed, right?
Brilliant.
Now, here's the problem. Genetically modified seed. Now, let me backtrack a minute. So Granddad not only taught me how to save that seed.
Yeah.
He taught me how to save any of the seed on the farm. Whether that was
I'm making notes again. Sorry about that. Yeah,
potato seeds, peas, tomatoes, anything. He would keep the seed from the seed every year, right? Now, in the 50s, they did away with that, and they started going across to commercial GMO seed. Now, people say, GMO seed doesn't go back that far. It does. So, and the reason I say it does is because in the 50s and 60s, what they started doing was, if you'd got a field full of wheat, for instance, some wheat's 2 foot tall, some wheat's 4 foot tall. Right? What they did was they agreed on, we need a crop that's 3 foot tall. So we're going to go through it this year, and we're going to take out everything what's 4 foot tall. So next year, there's no seed what grows to 4 foot.
Yeah.
Now it only grows to 3 foot and 2 foot. So what we're now going to do is take out all the 2 foot seed. We take out all the 2 foot grain. So next, we're left with one crop, 3 foot, and it all looks identical across the field.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So they started playing about with it then. Then they started changing the genetics of that grain. And this is how we get GMO seed.
Yeah.
They've changed the genetics. Now, the biggest problem with GMO seed is, as much as it's really great on the grounds that people say, oh, well, I've got the best seed possible because I've got this seed. And you go, really? That's great, right?
But it's not natural.
It's not fungal resistant. It's not self-pollination. It's not this. It's, right. It must come from the lab, right? Yeah. You must put these chemicals on it at 12 weeks. You must put these chemicals on it at 26 weeks. Yeah. You must put this chemical on it before you harvest it, 48 hours before you harvest, right? What they've done is, in that time frame, that last 70 years, they've got farmers not to save seed. They now just buy it all in. Now, the problem is with GMO seed. If you take let's say a butternut squash seed. What's an F1 seed? F1 is the genetically modified version, right? So if you see F1 on a packet of seeds, don't buy it because it's been genetically modified. Now,
is that just for the butternut squash, or is that like a...
No, on all seeds, you'll see F1 in the corner.
F1.
Yeah, F1. Now, F1 means it's been played about with, basically.
Yeah.
Now, what you end up with, Nathan, is if you take that seed, put it in the ground, this year you'll get lovely butternut squash. If you take the seed from that and grow it next year, you'll probably end up with a pumpkin. Because it's pumpkin seeds, what they've genetically modified through time to make it grow as a butternut squash. But it will always default back to its historical point in the seed.
All right. Okay. Right? Well, I mean, that now, again, it goes back to, so nature's magical again for that.
But here's the problem.
Right. Yeah.
90% of GMO seed will not grow next year.
Is this where Terminator seeds come in, or is that a different thing again? It's a
different thing.
Right. Okay.
So what they did if I take Africa as an example, they came along. Bill Gates came along and said, "We've got
there
this."
Is again, by the way.
We've got this fantastic seed, and what this seed does is it produces 50% more grain than what your normal seed will. So the farmers went, "Fantastic! We never got enough food, so we'll chuck away our seed." So they swapped their seed to Bill Gates for this brilliant, amazing seed. What was GMO crop going to give them the best seed ever? And what happened? They got about 10% of what they normally got.
Yeah.
Now we're starving. So now what happens? The aid companies have to come in, drop them off grain that they lend them the money to do.
I was going to say, don't forget the bankers in this, because then this is why I won't give to charities, because exactly what you're saying there. And as soon as they've got you on that well, poverty, I guess it's designed.
You're on their gravy train, mate, and you can't control it. They're steering this gravy train. You're just hanging on the back for dear life.
Which means then you're indebted, which means then you can't get out of it, which means that they can then dictate the way that you do things. They can dictate your policies, and
absolutely
you've got no choice at that point because you're dependent on them. And
absolutely,
and to me,
works from the so the farmers then get into debt, can't pay the debts. What happens? They come along and take the land off them.
Yeah. And then we've seen what they do with the land after that. Yeah.
And that's what they do. So now I still think all this is part of a bigger plan. I don't know. Go slightly.
We know it is, to be fair, but
we'll go slightly digress here against the words organic. But I believe if you look at what's coming out of the chemtrails, what's the chart what they measure chemicals with?
The periodic table?
Periodic table. Thank you. Yeah. If you look at the two chemicals which are coming out of there, they are Ba and Li.
Which is barium and Li. What's the lithium?
Barium and aluminium. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you put those two together, what do you have? You have Satan at its kindest name of barley. Yeah. Barley, whichever you pronounce it as.
So the old Phoenician god Baal, which is now, absolutely. Well, again, this what we were talking about yesterday alone, all that mystery history, a lot of it is linked into Phoenicians and Baal and things like. Again, we need to go into this massively. This is
if you add them two components together, what does it do? It kills the soil.
Yeah,
Baal kills the soil, right? Now, and I think. Slightly digressing here, but I think if you look at things like what's happened in Western civilization, especially in the last 100 years, we've gone from good Catholic girls what wouldn't have sex before marriage, right? Completely destroyed now. They can go on contraception, stop getting pregnant, and what do? We bring down all the way down the line the amount of humans being reproduced for the planet. We've made abortion really easy. Abortion was a terrible thing. No one wanted to go through it. Now it's nothing.
Well, I mean, there's a massive debate. I mean, I think there's. Yeah, well, I won't go into that because that's a whole different discussion.
But what I'm saying is, all of these things are done to destroy humans.
Yes.
So now the removal of historic heritage seeds is about removing the ability for people to be able to feed themselves. It's about getting rid of humans, right?
Yeah.
And this is all, I believe, and this is only my opinion, part of the agenda.
Yeah.
Right. So for those who don't want to believe in the agenda, that's fine.
Well,
Go do some
I
research.
was going to say so okay for all just can I just add a section
Yeah,
in here
yeah.
about the agenda. So the agenda that we're talking about largely is Agenda 2030,
Mm-hmm.
which is it's got an Agenda 2050. Before that it was Agenda 21, which they've ticked off. Now
Yes.
we were told in the last 12 years, Agenda 21, it's just a conspiracy theory, it's not real. But then they ticked off all the boxes for Agenda 21. And now they're on to Agenda 2030, which is fast approaching, and they're ticking off the boxes.
And Nathan,
I want
just
to
on
add a
what
little
you
bit of context, mate.
yeah,
If anyone thinks that the Agenda 21, 2030, 2050 is a conspiracy theory, it is not. It is freely and easy to access. It's on the United Nations website. It's there, all plain to see. All of the countries that are signed up with the UN are following it. They're all aligned with it. Just press the drop down section where it's got the bullet points that tells you how they're going to achieve those objectives. That's the concerning part, because
yeah,
that's the bit that they don't want you to know about. It sounds all well and good. Oh, we're doing that and that, and they sell it really well, mate. They really just like, well, what's wrong with that? That's all beneficial. No, it sounds beneficial because they're
yeah.
selling it to you, and if they're trying to sell it to you, then they're profiting from it. And who
Well,
they're
we've already
profiting from?
seen this with, if you look at the green initiatives they're putting in place with solar panels and wind
Yeah,
turbines,
yeah,
that's bullshit. That's just
I
about
know.
consuming land,
Yeah,
damaging land so you can't grow on it. It's not about the electricity you're getting out of it. And, and when you look at what goes into manufacturing solar panels or manufacturing windmills and
yeah.
manufacturing the batteries that have got to go in the back of all that, right, you soon come to realize actually this doesn't stack up.
Not at all. I
if
mean,
if
if
those
anything,
things
it's
lasted for a
environmentally massively
thousand
unfriendly.
years,
Yeah,
yeah, if they lasted for 1,000 years, we might just about come net zero on them, but we can't.
right.
We know there's no point of a windmill. The blades can't be their carbon fiber. They can't be
Yeah,
recycled, right? We
yeah,
know that. We said pits of them, massive
yeah.
pits of them everywhere. They all use,
What's that doing to the soil? Because if that gets absorbed into the soil and spreads
yeah,
through any kind of if there is any mycelium network left at that point in those areas, it's just we're turning it into a waste ground. It's a wasteland.
yeah, yeah. And you've got to look at it and you think to yourself, okay, the basis for these windmills, for instance, are just huge. Thousands and thousands of tons of stuff goes into the base of these big ones, and that all has to be mined, right? All of
Yeah.
that has to be mined. The steel bars will hold it all together to hold it up. All have to be mined. You've got to look at, and how do they start these wind turbines? With a diesel generator. Every
So
one of them, every
yeah,
one of those has a diesel generator inside it.
which we're told that we're trying to get away from. Incidentally, they can't get away from it because it's powering the things that we're told are replacing it, and that
It's
they're environmentally sustainable. I don't think so.
And I hate to say this, Nathan, but we used this phrase yesterday. It's bread and circus, it's smoke and mirrors,
Yeah.
and and the public are played like kippers at every opportunity without questioning it, and that's what I want these talks to be about for me.
Yeah,
Is that
absolutely.
the public hears things and they go, that can't be right. He must be talking bollocks. I'm happy to talk bollocks if you go and question it. Because if you go question it, I'll bet you'll find out I ain't talking bollocks. I'm talking sense.
Yeah.
And then you'll go, oh, God, maybe there's something else I need to question too.
And then when certain things when they do double check, if they cross reference, if they investigate it for themselves, and it is a big if, unfortunately, because a lot of people just take mainstream narratives and mainstream, whatever's being pushed at them, they'll only take that because mainstream is the authority, not. But the worrying part is that they won't do that. But if they did, the next question is, well, if he's right about that, and then he's saying that's linked to that, or that comes after that, and that's because of that reason over there, which is really quite evil and malevolent, and if that doesn't make sense, it's like a domino effect. All we need to start is push the first domino over for them,
Yeah.
and then they'll be saying, well, then what? And then well, if that is that, then hang on a minute, that's not good. That doesn't make sense. That contradicts that, and again, all of this, it falls to bits, but the only reason it doesn't fall to bits is because they don't look into it. They don't want to. I think it's because people are. It's almost fear. I think they
I
don't
think so.
want things to be bad with the world. They don't want things to be out of balance. They don't want the agenda to be a thing. And unfortunately, and
It all is.
but this is the thing. I had a discussion with somebody the other day about truth, and people are saying, "Oh, the truth is that." And what's the truth? You can't define the truth. No, you can define the truth. The truth is that which has been and that which is. Right? You don't have to like the truth. You don't have to agree with the truth. But the truth is not going to change based on opinion. It's not subjective. It is what it is. And unfortunately, at the minute, mate, and what you've spent years investigating, as I have and as many others have, the truth is not very pleasant at the minute, and it hasn't been very pleasant for a long time. And so, what we're trying to do now is to say, well, this is the situation as it is, whether you like it or not. We are trying to change that so that the truth becomes better. The future truths can change based on our actions here and now. If we don't look into this, if we don't learn from this, if we don't modify our own behaviors, our own psychology, our own outlook at the world, our own perceptions, then the engineers of the world, the ones that are doing all of this stuff that we've just been talking about, changing the farming, changing the seeds, and destroying the environment. I mean, net zero to me is the most dangerous thing you can imagine, because it's basically effectively saying it's extinction. We are working towards.
It's exactly what they're going for. Yeah,
but it's not only the extinction of the human race, which doesn't make sense to me. Why would they make us extinct? They are human, are they not? I mean, that's debatable from certain perspectives.
Well, that's debatable anyway. But it doesn't only kill us; it kills the planet.
This is where I was going with it. What is? So I've written down here. Because all of this, what you've just said there, effectively, the whole thing is geoengineering, right? But it's not just that; it's terraforming. If you look at it, right. So, okay, we know that there's geoengineering going on. We know there's genetic modifications. We know that there's a technocratic agenda going on here. All of this is undeniable. This is indisputable proof and fact. We're not dealing with conspiracy theory.
No.
What I've written down here: why? Right, so all of these things, destroy the environment, wipe out humanity. Why? What's the point of that? Right, because to me, the only thing that could possibly be behind that is something that is so anti-life.
That's exactly what it is.
Right, so again, this is the question that keeps going around. Why? I've not managed to come up with a suitable answer to this, and I'd like to think I'm quite bright.
Okay, so firstly, the word truth. The truth is based around facts. And facts are stubborn things,
especially when they've been taken out of public view and hidden, and
that's why they're taken out, so that we can't get to the truth, right?
Exactly.
Now, in answer to your question, you have worked it out, right? You have worked.
Point. Go on.
No, I think you fully worked it out, right? So in your head, you, like me, can't justify the answer you've given yourself,
right?
Because you can't believe it. Why would they want to wipe out existence on the planet? Right?
Yeah.
So you accept they want to.
It's the only conclusion.
It's the only conclusion, isn't it?
All of this that's going on doesn't make any sense to me.
Exactly.
From that perspective, because it's going to affect them as well. But then what if they aren't what we think they are, right?
And what about if their belief is so strong?
Yeah.
Right. And I say from if I say Christian point of view, right?
Yeah. No, fine.
You'll know what I mean, right?
Yeah,
you'll know what I mean.
I do.
Right. Christians or God is about love, life, right? Laughter, all the things what we can enjoy about life, right? We enjoy the sun. It gives us, makes us feel good.
Without it, this is another. Sorry, again. Yeah, I was going to say people say that all this sun worship's terrible and it's evil. Without the sun, you don't have any life. The sun is life. The sun is the light, and this is what they're blocking out as well. This all ties into the geoengineering and terraforming.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry to interrupt you again, mate, because you're on a roll there. So carry on, buddy.
No, but that's what I'm saying. And I think what we've got to understand is you do know the answer. You're like me. You do know it. Their game plan is just to wipe everything. That's the game plan, right?
But why? For what? Yeah.
Why? Because that is the game plan. Right. One of my mates who's one of the best counsellors I've ever met, right, always comes back with this thing, and he said, because pie chart rules apply. And I used to go, what does that mean? He said, well, it means what it says. Pie chart rules apply. Whatever the pie chart says, that's the rules, and they apply, right? And that's where this lot are coming from, right? None of it makes any sense. They've got a pie chart what says if we do A, B, C, and D, this will be the outcome. Oh, won't that be great? Well, yeah, but we're all going to die. Yeah, no. But look, the pie chart, that's there. That's going to give us the rules, and the rules will give us an outcome. And as long as we follow that, that will happen, and this will be the outcome. They do not care. They're that fucked up in the head. They don't care if they wipe us all out. Right
So,
now.
so to me, and I talk a lot with with a lot of people actually about brain imbalances, right? About the dialectic, the schism, the mental schism, effectively.
Yeah.
Whereas the social engineers, for want of a better word, they love to put us in a one extreme or the other, right? So they put us in a left brain imbalance, or they put us
Yeah,
in a
yeah,
right
yeah, yeah,
brain
yeah.
imbalance, right? It doesn't matter which side you're on. They just want you on one side or the other,
It's all
because if
about
you
keeping
start
you on your toes.
exactly, yeah, but it's also keeping you it with and bear in mind imbalance, which means you're not thinking straight, you're not thinking
Absolutely.
clearly, you're not thinking on the level, and that's not a Freemasonic reference. But what I'm looking at this from, if you choose the middle path, which is like a balance between the left and the right, the outcome will be fantastic. We will as a species synchronized together with nature, with each other, right? But whilst we're in an imbalance, and the world is massively in an imbalance, I would say a psychotic imbalance,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
I'd agree.
But the
Right.
psychopaths putting the pie charts together, they are left brain imbalanced extremists, right? They're it's almost like they're almost robot mechanical beings. There's no empathy, there's no love, there's no compassion there. It's insanity, you know?
Right.
Sorry, mate.
Work this out. Work this out. Right. So we are the only species on the planet, right? The
Yeah.
only species on the planet that would kill itself.
Yeah, I would say lemmings, but apparently even that's a myth. Even
They
that was
they don't.
even that was
It's a
bollocks.
myth, right?
Yeah,
It's bollocks, right?
yeah,
They do everything to try and stay alive and protect themselves and do it. We are deliberately going down the road of killing ourselves off, and
yeah,
we can see it through AI, through robotics, through
yeah.
through seeds, through starvation. We can see it all happening. It's all unfolding in front of us, and we're going. We're running towards the edge of the cliff, in my opinion, and we can't put the brakes on,
Right, exactly
right?
that.
Because the
Right.
people who are in charge of the brakes are sat at the front going, "Woohoo! We're going faster and faster. Just chuck more coal in the steam train, right?"
Yeah,
Because
just
that's
enjoy the
where we
ride.
are.
Just enjoy
Just
the
enjoy
thrill.
the
Don't.
ride,
Yeah,
guys. And once we
yeah.
go over the edge, we're going to be all right. We're going to be saved. No, you're not. Well, you're going to die just the same. Yeah, but it doesn't matter, right? Because they don't see it like you and I do. That empathy, what we've got towards survival and making sure that people around us are okay, they don't have that. That's fucking removed,
Well, it
right?
seems to be. I mean, again, I've toyed with this idea over and over again because again, I'm very familiar with the agenda. I know what's going on in the world. Unfortunately, it is a dark truth. It's a horrible way of looking at the world. But equally, if you just ignoring it doesn't make it go away, right? You have to look at this head on, because the only way to fix it is to deal with it head on. You can't ignore it. Um, but again, that is a psychopathic mindset.
100%.
That it is just, well, we can do a thing because we've got the money, we've got the influence, we've got the media, we've got the ability, we've got the scientists, well,
We're
so
gonna
called.
play. We're gonna play God.
That's it. They're going to play God. Well, isn't that equivalent to saying? I mean, that's, oh God, I don't even know the word for that. I mean, it's solipsism on overdrive, isn't it?
On that note, hold
Yeah,
hard. I need to go and put some logs on the fire.
no problem.
I'll be just a minute.
Right, okay. Cheers, mate. So, whilst Bowler Hat is creating some carbon emissions for the world, I would like to just add to the viewer, if you can just consider the things that we're saying here, even if you don't agree with it, even if you're a bit skeptical. Um, go back to the whole photosynthesis scientific idea and just consider how that works, and then contrast that to what you're being told in the media. And again, it's not too much of a gap to jump to. Just consider what that is, that it's a proven scientific fact, and then compare that to the climate change that you're being sold to on a daily basis by the corporations, by your governors, by your politicians, even now by your religious leaders. It doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. So that's what I would like the viewers to take from this, if that's possible, to just listen to what's been said. It's very rational. If you don't want to take our word for it, that's brilliant. We don't want you to take our word for it. Go and have a look. Go and investigate this for yourself. Go and have a look at the statistics, the Soil Association, the United Nations agendas, things like that. It'll tell you. This is not conspiracy theory. You are told that it is because they don't want you looking into it effectively. It's a very dark agenda. So, on that note, there's the other way of looking at. I'm not used to monologues. If you have a look at the environment around you, if you have a look at the cities around you, if the urbanization, the constant logging, the removal of farmland, things like that, and just think to yourselves, why is this happening? This doesn't make sense. Anyway, welcome back, Mark. So I've done
Get
a
out.
monologue there. I don't know how I did, but
Just got to go for it.
I'm just trying to put it all together, just to say, look, genuinely don't take our word for it. I mean, listen to us. I'm not saying don't listen to us.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But if people are skeptical on this, just look into it. Just look into it and think. Just think to yourself, well, if that equals that, then that. Well, why? Why? And it always comes back to that question. The last question anybody's ever going to ask is why.
Yeah. Well, I think
anyway,
there's two things people need to take into account, right? One is something which I learned very early: follow the money.
That's a good, yeah, right? That is a good rule. Yeah.
Because if you follow the money, you always get the answer you're looking for. You always come to the truth. You know, if you look at 2020, what happened there, right?
Yep.
People earned billions, trillions out of that, right?
Yep.
And that was just part of the trial.
Well, mate, that was, I mean, you could almost say it was a mock trial, but it was a very evil mock trial that had very, very devastating results for a lot of people. So,
without a doubt. And
it did trigger the Great Reset. It's like you said in yesterday's show, we are living through it. We are watching it change. It's changing in front of our very eyes. The reset
day by
is in
day,
process
we're
now.
watching it happen.
Yeah.
Every day we can sit here and say, oh, I don't agree with this and don't agree with that. I don't care who agrees with me. Right? Go do the research.
Yeah.
Look into, if you want to look into the 2020 and what happened, you know, we all know there was an alleged virus. Everyone was given jibby jabs. We know all that went on. Look at the people who earned the most amount of money out of that. Every one of those is on the top list of the top earners around the world.
Yeah.
There wasn't any little molly mops what earned a fortune through that time. Yeah, look, some of them might have done all right, but, you know, most of it was...
I would say they were opportunists. The ones that weren't part of it, they're just being opportunistic. And from that perspective, I can't really blame them.
Can't blame them, no.
And
when you know how corrupt the system is, then you start to go, well, I don't really care if I behave how I should do or not. But what I was going to say is right now, so all of those things, in my opinion, all come back to the point of killing off the population of the planet.
Yeah.
Right. And I would say that they've made it very clear in the, you know, Georgia Guidestone stones.
Yeah.
They clearly stated we've got 800 million people on the planet and we're only going to have 500 million when we're left.
Yeah.
Sorry, 8 billion and we're going to have 500 million left. Right?
No, I knew what you meant. But,
So now, I believe that we are heading towards that as we sit at the moment in time. And by 2030, I think a lot of this, given the opportunity, and I'm not going to say that I think this is done yet, right? I believe that there is still a massive fight to be had.
So do I. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing this. If I thought it was game over, I wouldn't
agree.
Bother.
So don't get me wrong by thinking it's game over. Their plan is by 2030 to have us nailed to the ground so we can't feed ourselves, we can't produce electricity for ourselves. And I think their plan is to put us backward in society, the bits we can control, back to medieval times.
Yeah.
Right?
So a very, very large class divide, in other words.
But they will have huge reflection on AI, massive control of food stability, everything that they want control of will be at their fingertips. Yeah. We will be living either under control, tick their box for 2030 agenda, or we'll be outcasts living, you know, outside of society. And then they think they're going to then just deal with us along the way. I
Well,
don't
the
see that at
idea
all.
is that,
Now,
the way that they would look at that is to mop it, allow them to go in
yes,
and
and
go
then
on a
do the
run
mop
and
up.
then
Yeah,
mop them up afterwards.
yeah.
You know, it's like a cleanup operation, isn't it?
You know, you're always going to have, and you can then keep spraying the sky, spraying off the pests which are a problem to you,
Yeah,
like they do with farming.
yeah.
So I think what we're going to see though, Nathan, is the kickback is now starting to come.
I
Right?
would say, I mean, it's like you said the other day. I mean, you changed my perspective on this. It's because I was thinking it's not happening quick enough. But from the perspective you gave me the other day, it's like, well, they've had a massive head start at all this.
They
And
didn't have
we had
AI.
a catalyst. What I would say, maybe 1999, 2001, that era for obvious reasons. And then again in 2020, whenever there's a massive event, it's going to trigger more awakening
More awakening, yeah.
procedures. But and I agree with that. Um, yeah, I'm going to carry on, mate, because I think we're absolutely aligned on the same page here, and I do agree that there's an awakening. I think I would like it to move faster, but equally it's got to take its own course because it's a natural development in a way. So yeah,
Yeah, and I think, Nathan, what we're seeing in this awakening is, I think there's lots of aspects to this awakening, right?
yeah,
The transition, what's got to happen for people like us to be able to get our message out,
yeah,
is only happening because of the tools we have available to us, right?
absolutely,
Now,
yeah. Which is their infrastructure, to be fair,
their
and we are
infrastructure.
using it. So and there's multiple options here. Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
And we're
I agree.
using it against them.
Yes.
AI
They
is
hate that,
something.
by the way. Do you know
Oh, they
Rockefeller
absolutely.
said before? Yeah, I think it was David Rockefeller, like the most recent one. And somebody interviewed him and said, what's your biggest regret? And he said, the internet,
Yeah.
giving people the internet.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true. That it's something that
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
reportedly
I've heard
said
it.
from
Yeah.
David Rockefeller. So anyway,
Well,
sorry, mate.
I think what we're seeing is, within this with what's happening, and in yesterday's show we were talking about this. The Great Awakening, which certainly I've been through in the last year.
Yeah,
Um, I was awake. I've been awake for years, but not on the kind of the holistic level I am now.
yeah,
And being able to look at things very, very differently
yeah.
to what I would have thought about, 5, 10, 20 years ago. But I think what's coming out of all this is we're starting to see a lot more people like us that are speaking out, that are becoming more awake, having
Yes.
that awakening, that are starting to question everything, not
Which is
just.
brilliant. No, but that's a really good. That's a curiosity coming back, isn't it? That's the
Well,
inquisitiveness.
I
That's
think it is,
yeah,
but I think a lot of that, Nathan, it starts with the food. Starts with the food, because if you start to feed the body, you start to feed the soul,
yeah.
and the soul is what, my opinion, that's what they're after. Now,
So again, I've come to this conclusion as well, but again, I'm trying to think. Well,
and
if that's the case, then
now the reason I
they're
say this, right?
outside of that, right? So yeah,
The reason I say this is because I believe your soul, right, not your heart, your soul is what produces the energy to run your body,
right,
right?
yeah.
So, and we recharge that soul via sunlight and by good quality food, right?
Well, hence the sun's name used to be the
Soul,
soul. It's linked.
soul.
I mean, the solar plexus, right?
Yeah,
It's soul.
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, although I would say that the soul is more head and heart, but
Head and heart, yeah.
yeah,
So, in my thought is that as all this rolls forward, and we start to get more people on this awakening level, right,
yeah,
and more people start to understand that what their soul is again, right,
yes,
and
yeah,
this power inside them, this, Tony Robbins, for goodness sake, one of the most prolific coaches in the world, says, always talks about the power inside you. We have forgot the power inside us.
yeah.
We think about it as go, oh no, it's just having the courage to do it. No, it's about having the inner strength to
Yeah.
challenge this shit, right? And that
Can
inner
we
strength
say that conscience is a part of that as well?
is what.
Would
Sorry.
conscience, would I say, to
Yeah,
me, conscience is a big part of that, because
yeah,
I can't sit back and ignore this because of my conscience, right? If and I keep saying that I've got a catchphrase, which is, if a problem is affecting you, then it's your problem, and
Yeah,
this is affecting everyone, which makes it everyone's problem. And
yeah.
so anybody that has a conscience is now, to me, and it's that I was compelled to act through that conscience. I've got conviction to try and do something about this. I can see the problem. I know what's going to happen. I know what is happening now. I can't just sit back and ignore it.
And, and I don't think we will either. I think what's happening is, but I think we haven't yet hit two things. There's two things got to happen, in my opinion. One is the pain hasn't yet got to the point where the majority of the human race go fight or flight, right?
Yeah,
We haven't reached that yet. The
yeah.
majority of the human race isn't yet at that point.
I would agree. I would agree.
There's,
Yeah,
most people in Western civilization are still going, well, I'm still going to work, I'm still eating, I'm still driving the car. Yes, there's lots of issues going on, but we'll get through this like we always have. No. This is about that consciousness, what you have there, acting on it. Now, how do we do that? Well, at the minute, we don't have to, right? People like you and I that are further ahead of the game are going to be those leaders that when those people do wake up en masse, there will be people to guide them onto the next part of the journey.
Yeah.
Now, and this is what I was coming back to yesterday, saying about, my opinion is between AI, computerization, robotics, and everything else, we are in a unique point, right? And the tipping point for the quality of food what's required, for instance, is changing.
Yeah.
People are now demanding better quality food. As a result of better quality food, you start to feed the body better. The brain starts to think better. Cognitively, we start to go, I should question that. Yeah. Once we get to that maximum point where everyone starts questioning it, that's when the pain is at its worst. And we're not there yet. Once we are, then we'll see the tipping point. When the tipping point comes, it will, I guarantee you, be at the same point, people like me that have been sorting out solutions will be ready with all the solutions.
Yeah, and you're very active with those solutions as well, which is brilliant to see.
And we'll just then, at that point, that's when the flip comes.
Yeah.
Right? And do you know what, Nathan? Years ago, my son used to be into watching Doctor Who, right?
Is that before they butchered it? But I would say they butchered it about 20 years ago. So,
well, yeah, this was probably, round about that kind of similar sort of time. Yeah. And there was one on there where they'd got these great big slug-looking things in humanoid suits. Yeah. Do you remember this? And they were running Parliament.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
When you look at people like, Starmer now, for instance, that's what he looks like. He is just this thing what's been put there with nothing there. His soul's been removed. He's just this thing which is living, breathing to deliver a job, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like he represents the system.
Yeah, it's almost like an NPC, but not necessarily NPC. A program.
No, I think you're right.
It's like I guess from a Matrix perspective, he's a Smith. He's an Agent Smith.
Absolutely.
The only thing that's in there is the system.
Yes.
Right? So he's just representing that as almost like a robot in human form, effectively. Yeah. That's programmed to align with the agenda and push it. He doesn't give it. I mean, look, I would say at the minute that Starmer's probably one of the most hated men in Britain ever.
Yeah, I'd agree.
He's not bothered by that. He doesn't give a damn. And people say, oh, he's got to go. Oh, it's all about Starmer. No, it's not about Starmer. He's doing his job and he's doing it well. That's why
he's doing it brilliantly.
They chose him to do that because he can put up with the flack, with the criticism, the hate, which to me tells me he's a psychopath, right? I mean, without a shadow of a doubt, he's a psycho. But equally, he's doing the job well that they've put him in to do. I'm not saying that he's doing a good job for us, the people. He's not. He's a terrible leader. But in terms of the system, he's a great leader. He's exactly
delivering the agenda. He's delivering the agenda. He's ticking every box.
Yeah, but essentially, is his soul gone? Has he been replaced with something else? Has he? Yeah, absolutely.
I'd say 100%.
Yeah.
But this comes back to what I'm saying. So at the moment, the human race as a whole hasn't managed that tipping point. Now,
I
there was
agree.
a nut,
Yeah.
and I want to go back to Doctor Who again if I can, right?
Yeah, please do. Yeah.
Because there was a brilliant episode where the Doctor disappeared, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And then they brought the Doctor back on a spaceship, and he was in a cage, right?
All right. Okay.
And he was in a cage, and he gave himself up to save the human race. And the aliens or whoever it was at the time thought they'd got him backed into a corner and that he would have no way out.
Hmm.
But what he'd been doing and what the disciples effectively had been doing was going around the planet saying, right, on this day, at this time, you just need to stand up and say, Doctor, 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 Doctor.
Yeah.
And millions of people worldwide were all going, Doctor, Doctor, Doctor. And that energy force gave him the power to be able to step into his greatness, right? That is where we need to get to.
Yeah.
At the moment, right? At the moment, right? There is no leader that's going to bring us out of this.
Not from the system perspective. No, absolutely not.
Right. Now
Yeah,
it
I
might,
agree.
now, let's biblical terms, let's put that
Yeah.
back into into the fray and
Yeah.
history, right?
Yeah.
I do not believe there is anyone of this planet is going to lead us out of this situation. This is going to be down to us, right?
It has to be. But even going back to the Bible
However,
for that, what does it say? The kingdom of God is within, right? Like
well,
within. So
right,
it is us. So effectively.
but that's what I'm saying. But we've got to wake ourselves up to get to that. And the pain is what brings that energy and love and life back to us to be able to move forward. Now, it might be that whatever this power is that you and I would agree, the universe, God, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
has the opportunity to give us that information of how we resolve this.
Yes.
But at the moment, the biggest percentage of the human race cannot absorb that information. And that information is only going to become available to us as we awaken. You and I can accept that information on how we need to move forward.
Yeah.
At the minute, the bits of the puzzle for us we're miles ahead of everybody else, but the bits of the puzzle of how we take it to the next level haven't yet materialized. And that I see coming into play. But at some point, once that information's in place and people are ready to hear it, some signal will get sent out to the masses, what will awaken them to understand what they need to do for them to do it. And that, to me, is a bit like an upgrade on a computer system.
Yeah,
You've got a virus.
I was thinking along those lines. I mean, you were mentioning like charging up on a soul level, but collectively we are all part of the oversoul, right? And if
Yeah.
that becomes charged up significantly, then yeah, it is like an upgrade. It is like a power up. It's almost like a reinfusion of consciousness, right? It's almost like it's coming back to life after being in stasis for 3,000-4,000 years, if you like. But
at the minute, people are hibernating, Nathan. You know, you see them walking down the
yeah,
street and you can
yeah.
tap them on the fucking head and they don't even know you're there.
Oh, mate,
You know, and I think they're in like a hibernation mode.
They are. It's weird, right? I've got an anecdote for this. I think I might have mentioned it before. Years ago, I think it was about 5, 6, 7 years ago, maybe. I took my daughter to a play group. You know, these like with the soft play and it's got they can run around like lunatics. Basically, it was brilliant. And she was just doing her thing, running around, and the kids were running around. And I was thinking, okay, that's good, but it's weird. There's something off, right? And I couldn't figure out what was off because it was quite busy, but it seemed dead. And I'm thinking, well, it's not the kids; they're all playing. And it's not the staff; they're all doing their thing. They're busy. They're serving. So what? And I looked around, and literally, I walked the length and breadth of this entire hall. It was a massive hall. I just walked down it and walked back up. Everybody on the tables, and I mean everybody, was on their phone.
Yeah.
Right. They're all like, and even when they were sat with 3 or 4 other people, and I'm looking around. I'm going, oh, this is worse than I thought. I mean, I knew it was bad. But I'm just looking at them all scrolling. I just thought, right. And it was at that moment I came off Facebook because I was on Facebook at that point. I went, nah, I'm done. I'm not doing this. I mean, again, I would say I was on this journey since I was 15. If we take it all the way back to earlier signals, if you like.
Yeah.
I've never really been normie. I've always been an
Yeah.
outcast of some, but I've never seen the world the way that other people see it.
Yeah.
For various reasons. But it was that, and it's so even now, bringing it back to what you've just said there, when you walk around places, I mean, at the minute I'm in Middlesbrough, right? And I'm part time in Middlesbrough and part time in the Cotswolds with,
Hmm.
with Holly, okay? But up here, it's like there is a massive contrast. It feels stagnant, right? It's I mean even the
Dead
skies.
air.
We mentioned it the other day.
Yeah.
It just feels like a heavy uh blanket above our heads, and it's like we can't really breathe,
Do you
right?
know, Nathan, I do wonder if part of that is 5G as well.
I think yeah, because that's suppressing our mood. Actually, can I answer this one? My daughter said the other day, um, she said, "Oh, Daddy, I've got this thing in my eye," and she said it's like coloured lights, and it's going round in the summer. So it's a migraine, and she went, "Yeah, that's what Mummy said." I said, "Yeah, you've got a migraine, darling." And I said, "You get zigzags in your eyes." She said, "Yeah, but I don't get the headache." I said, "No, neither do I. When I get a migraine, I don't get the headache with it. I get a lot of headaches, but
Yeah.
separate." It's all right. I'm right. It's going somewhere. She said, "Oh well, it usually happens between 5 o'clock and 11 o'clock." Like in the afternoon. She said, I've noticed that that's 5 o'clock. And I went, right, okay, sit down. I said, do you understand why that is? And she's like, uh, no. She said, is it loud or is it not? I said, no. I said, think about it. I said, we are a house between two other houses.
Yeah.
The house on this side, they've got a load of kids, and there's two adults, and so if you think of the kids are always on the phones and tablets, the adults are always on the phones and tablets. The telly's always on blasting, unfortunately, because we've got no consideration for others, but that's a different matter. So they've got the internet blasting constantly, they've got music blasting, the TV blasting, bang, 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 bang. That comes alive when the kids come home,
Yeah.
and it starts to really ramp up at about 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
On the other side, we on the other side is lovely, but equally just as dependent on technology. They've got an Alexa, they've got the telly, they've got the internet
Yeah.
going, they've
Yeah.
got the phone. He's got his business to deal with, right? And he comes home at about 5 o'clock, and so at 11 o'clock, things start to die down a bit. And I said, so what am I telling you? And she's like, it's the internet. I went, yeah. I
Yeah.
said, think about it. I said, it's all those signals. I said they're getting ramped up, and whether it's 4G, 5G, it doesn't matter. It's
Yeah.
all those signals, and we are hemmed in between that.
Yeah.
And I get it as well. Now I didn't. So I think my daughter's smarter than I am. I think her IQ's through the bloody roof actually. But um, when she described this, she'd looked at the timings of it and the effects of it, and so all I've done is piece it together and say, well, it's that and that at that time, and
Mm,
so
mm.
all of these frequencies that we're being hammered with, and it is
Yeah.
again whether you want to call it, if people have got a problem with 5G, all right, let's go
Yes.
back to 4G because you can still get a headache from 4G, you can still get bombarded by Wi-Fi frequency.
Call it what it is. It's warfare.
It is warfare. It's techno warfare. But they've got us. So going back to the soul, right? I use the term full spectrum dominance to describe what they're doing, right? Because they've got us from every angle.
Yeah.
I feel sorry for the monologue at the minute. But they haven't. But they've got our mind. They've got our body. They've got our spirit. Right?
Yeah.
They've got our emotions. I would say it was fourfold. I call it the four dimensions of being.
Well, the
Right? So
soul's the only thing
mind,
was
body,
left.
soul, and spirit.
Yeah.
Well, or emotion, if you want to throw that in there. And they've got us hammered down with fear, depression, anxiety. That's a constant now. That's a main normal thing in society. It never used to be. That used to be abnormal, right?
Yep.
You've got the constant blanket cloud just out, and they gave us nice 3 days of sunshine, and now it's back to this crap. Right?
Yeah, we're back in it again today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because they'll give
Yesterday,
you a little
beautiful
bit of gap.
sunshine. Yeah.
Yeah. But then they want to hammer you. They want to keep you suppressed, right? A lot of it. Okay, yes, it's destroying the crops and the soil and the farms, and I would argue everything. I think this has got a knock-on effect on everything. But the other thing it does is it blocks us off from the sun, so we're not getting our serotonin, we're not getting our dopamine, our
Vitamin D.
circadian rhythms are all out of sync.
Yeah.
Because we're not going to bed at the proper times, we're not waking at the proper times, which is
Yep.
knocking us out of sync. It's mental, mate. One more thing. You mentioned Doctor Who. One of the episodes that I remember a lot is there was this doctor, and he was developing some kind of mind control through like a Bluetooth device,
Mhm.
and it was linked to the Cybermen. And I
I
think
remember it. Yeah.
right. I think it was a Cyberman origin story. And again, I stopped watching it shortly
And
after this.
when they took their earplugs out, they had
Right.
these things growing inside their ears.
Well, yeah. So they put Bluetooth heads like
Yep.
effectively
Yep.
headsets on, and they yeah, exactly, and it came through. In fact, just sorry, looking at you with the headphones on, mate, and I think
Yeah.
I've got you. You're a Cyberman. But look at the symbolism there, right? and I know this is crazy, and I know it's fictional, but I think you get more truth from fiction through the media
Well,
than you get from the
they
news.
always have to tell you what's going on.
Exactly. But I mean, but look at that. I mean, I've got a pair of them as well. So if I go on a coach, I'm wearing them as well. So I'm just as
Yeah,
guilty. But what I'm saying is, it's like they're telling us, you know, be careful what you do with your tech because we're basically taking you over. And by the
well,
end of that production line, you're going to be a robot.
that's why I have a
I
cable.
know.
And and
I know. Always take a wire, mate. I never have it on Bluetooth
and
ever.
I don't know if you know this, but if you've got two earpieces that are if you've got a set of earpods, for instance,
Yeah.
there's only one of them receives the signal from the phone. Do you know that?
Right. What is even on
It,
Bluetooth? Or
so on Bluetooth,
yeah.
it doesn't go to both of them. It goes
Mm.
to one of them and then goes from that one through your head to the other one.
Ooh. So it's pulsing then.
Yeah. So bear that in
Wow.
mind. So you've got all that signal going through your brain all the time.
Wow.
It doesn't
Which
go to the two
explains
of them.
headaches and when
Absolutely.
you get
Yeah.
lethargic and you get
Yeah.
exhaustion and things like that.
See these
Wow.
people walking down the street which are out of their head
Yeah.
and they've got earpods bouncing along. They're just fucking bouncing with the music. They don't know why. They just, that's
But it
why.
isn't, again, not to sound horrible, but it is like walking through a zombie apocalypse. The good thing is they don't seem to be too violent, most of them. And
No, that is.
but yeah, but I mean, just right. I'm going to ask you a question from. So Holly's given me a list of questions
Go on,
that
because
we've not got round to. I'm going to
yeah, I
give you a
noticed we're
question.
nearly 2 hours in. We haven't done a
I
question
know,
yet.
sorry, mate. Well, I mean, I'm happy to do as many of these as you like. So I'm happy for that. All right, I'm going to ask you. One of the questions was,
Go on.
why do you do what you do? What motivates you to do this? What was the catalyst for that? And so again, we do seem to have we're different. We're the black sheep. We are like the 1 in 10, if you like, that is looking around us going, well, hang on a minute, what's happening, right? So what was the catalyst for that? What
Um, okay.
triggered all this?
2020, I was very awake. I've been awake since I was about 21.
Yeah, well, that's what
Um,
I was assuming that to be fair.
yeah,
So yeah,
I was awake when I was 21. One of my best mates at the time, guy called Dennis Abbott, who I thought was completely crazy, and and I've told him that to his face. I thought he was barking mad.
yeah.
Bear in mind, this is before the internet. He came to me and he said, I need to tell you something. I said, what's that? He said, there's this thing called the 2030 agenda. Now, bear in mind, I'm 58 now, so this is 37 years ago.
Oh,
So,
okay,
so
right.
about 1990, he came to me and he said, I've got something I need to discuss with you. He said, there's this agenda to like get rid of all the humans. And I said, all right. And he said, this
Okay.
is how they're going to do it. You're into food and farming. They're going to do this. And I was like, well, they're never going to stop farmers.
Oh, have we lost you? Hang on, I don't know whether I've lost you, mate. Right. We seem to have lost Bowler Hat Farmer. I don't know whether he's there or his signal's been cut. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it here and then resend the invite and then hopefully get back online with Mark shortly. So I'm going to stop the episode here. There will be a follow-up. Thanks for watching and see you shortly.